Right now, we have a perfect guest to react to breaking news here at the Team 980.
Breaking news. Oh, snap. News is broken. Breaking news.
The Broncos have informed Russell Wilson that he is going to be released when the league year starts on March 13th. And get ready for this, Anthony. Do you know how much money in dead cap the Denver Broncos are going to be taking on to do this?
If they cut him right now, $33 million.
No.
Too much?
Not even half.
Not even half.
That's right. It's $85 million. That is
Oh my
record
gosh.
amount of dead money. It is so much of a record, in fact, that it is more than the previous two top spots combined. For more on that, J.I. Halsell, NFL salary cap expert, joins us now. J.I., what's up, man? It was great to see you. I wish I got to see you for more than trying to get you into Radio Row in Indy. The security extra tight there, but pleasure to have you today. How do you make sense of $85 million of dead cap money?
No, I mean, look, quarterback contracts are expensive. I was telling Anthony, before we jumped on that at a point the compensation has to match the player's compensation. And when you talk about a big money quarterback contract, you end up with an outcome like this where you've got a player who's no longer on your roster counting $85 million against the cap. It's one of those things where, though, had he continued to be on the roster beyond the conversion date, they would actually continue to owe him even more guaranteed money. So there's not a great solution if you're the Denver Broncos, and for Russell Wilson, those checks are coming in regardless. So you can go sign for the league minimum of $1.2 million elsewhere, and go become a starting quarterback. And for his new team, $1 million for a competent, albeit kind of on the back end of his career, starting quarterback makes some sense.
No doubt. I mean, he's 26 touchdowns, 8 picks last year, which statistically, obviously doesn't tell the entire story, but that's one of the best Washington quarterback seasons in a long time, 26-8.
Right.
And that got him cut. Obviously, he and Sean Payton do not get along at all. If you're the Broncos now and you have that much dead cap space, what does that mean for them trying to build a roster around that gigantic number of dollars that is not available?
Yeah, no, you're likely gonna go see a rookie quarterback there in Denver. They're not gonna be in the Kirk Cousins market, if you will. They're not gonna be in the Justin Fields market because even if you're the Broncos and you're Justin Fields, he's on the back end of his first round contract. He's gonna have to make a decision on his fifth-year option. So you're gonna look for the J.J. McCarthys of the world to potentially be the starter in Denver this coming season.
So I heard out in Indy that Sean Payton is an enormous fan of Drake May. To get Drake May, the Broncos would have to trade up, likely with Washington, to the number 2 pick. Is that something they can afford to do, though? Can they afford to give up rookie salary spots to come up in the draft, or are they going to have to settle with whoever is available for them at 12, which is their current draft spot?
If they truly love a player, whether it's Drake May or any other player, or any other quarterback for that matter, you can do it. It just whatever draft assets you have to give up to make that move makes it that much more incumbent upon you to hit on the remaining picks that you do have. It makes it that much more incumbent upon you to get guys in college free agency right after the draft who do not get drafted, who are going to be contributors. So, yes, the Russell dead money is a hindrance. Trading up could be a hindrance, but it's not impossible to overcome as you build out a roster.
Yeah, Sean Payton is relying on his own talents as a coach. And look, he turned him around last year, but we'll see. Crazy kind of breaking news. I mean, expected, but nuts to see it actually come through the wire from out in Denver. J.I. Halsell is our guest. Of course, NFL salary cap analyst, NFL agent, knows the cap as well as anybody, and has been covering Washington's cap situation for a long time as an analyst for us here on the Team 980. So the news that we originally were going to have you on to talk about, J.I., is what broke Friday during our show. Charles Leno out, Logan Thomas out. We've also heard since that Nick Gates is eventually going to get released as well. Is there any of these contracts and moves that stand out to you for any particular reason?
Not really. I mean, Charles Leno 2024 was the last year of his deal. So as you look to retool your offensive line in its entirety, moving on from a 32-year-old left tackle who's going to count $15.5 million against the cap and $12 million in cash as you turn the page makes sense. Same thing with Nick Gates, not signed by the current front office regime. And it just kind of, those two moves in particular really tell you that beyond the quarterback decision, they're going to definitely do a lot of retooling of the offensive line this offseason, as they should.
One thing that really also stood out to me about Leno and Thomas specifically is those are two guys that kind of spoke up about what was going down with Bieniemy last year. Yeah. And I also wonder how much of this has to do with them kind of bringing in their own leadership. Like, I don't know how much, look, everyone hears stuff, especially when you're out in Indy and especially if you're in that agent world, which you are a part of. So I don't know what you know versus kind of what you could hypothesize based off of that. Like, do you think these are sheer math moves, or is there a little bit more three-dimensional chess you think happening with the choices, especially a guy like Thomas who, was productive when he was healthy last year, and they don't have anything else in the tight end room. And by the way, they have a ton of cap space, so it's not like they need it.
Right. No, I mean, there are multiple variables, right? And again, new regime, trying to instill a new culture. Both of these players are well above 30 years old. Logan Thomas was also 32, just like Charles Leno. Particularly when you think about the tight end position, even though, there's not a lot on the roster there. You got some young guys who you drafted in the past few years. But in the grand scheme of roster building, it's not one of those, really important positions that you can't go find a productive guy in the middle part of the draft or even a fairly cost-efficient option in free agency. So, again, I think this is just really a bigger part of just retooling the roster, retooling the culture, and, getting rid of guys who are 32-plus years old.
J.I. Halsell, salary cap analyst, NFL agent, with us here on the Hoffman Show. I think some of the comments that kind of came out of the week from Adam Peters and Dan Quinn were interesting about that they don't really anticipate themselves being huge spenders in free agency. They have like $100 million of cap space now. They've got to spend a lot of it to hit the salary floor. So when you hear a GM and a head coach say stuff like that this time of year, and know these guys the way that you've seen them work in the past, like what does that mean to you? Like what are some of the moves that you anticipate Washington exploring as free agency opens the legal tampering period a week from today?
Yeah, I think your core tenet of roster building is to build through the draft because, quite frankly, the labor is cheap, right? And then to supplement what you do in the draft in terms of your roster building, you then supplement that through free agency. And so that means you take a very targeted approach at free agency. So, the days of Washington just spending tons and tons of money in free agency are long gone. It's been proven that you can build championship teams through the draft, through hitting on day 3 picks, through using college free agents. Now, at premium positions like edge, where you have to go get a pass rusher because you've got to be able to rush the passer in today's NFL. Maybe did you take a home run swing at a guy? Sure, but that's a targeted approach because ideally you would love to use those cap dollars to reward your homegrown players. And if you don't feel like you have a lot of homegrown players today who you can reward with that, well, you just roll the money over to the next league year, and then as you develop those homegrown players, you reward them accordingly.
J.I. Halsell, salary cap analyst, NFL agent, with us here on the Hoffman Show.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.